So I'm going to be changing out my gecko's cage. The geckos have been living in this 10-gallon tank right now. I have 3 juvenile crested geckos. I have this piece of foam on top to keep out some light and also to help with the humidity. And then I put a piece of plastic wrap to hold the humidity in. Now, I've had these geckos for a little more than 2 months now, and they've lived in here together ever since, but after doing more research on them and also observing them, I realized that it works better, I think, from what I've realized so far, for them to be separated. So I have little 6-quart plastic Sterilite tubs, which I'm going to be separating them into because sometimes they do mistake one another for cricket and they do bite each other. And recently, baby Pineapple, who's this one here, had a little scab on his back from another one biting him. So I'm like, well, it's definitely time to separate them. And they will have to be separated eventually anyways because they are all males. And I didn't know that they were unsexed when I bought them, but since then I have seen them developing the pores, so I know that they are males. And I'm going to give a tour of the cage real quick, and then I'm going to separate them into their cage. But I just want to show what I've been keeping them in so far. Now with the plastic wrap and everything, the humidity in the house is typically in the 50% range, mid 50% sometimes, but their cage, it doesn't hold the humidity that well, which is one thing I'm looking forward to with these 6-quart tubs. I hope they hold the humidity a lot better, because I understand they need a humidity of about 70%. So one thing I do have, I have this wad of paper towels down here, which I moisten each night, and that does help give off some humidity, but it doesn't always give off as much as I would like, so it still will be easier to control in this small thing. So it's also, I'm separating them for their own safety so they can't fight with each other or bite each other accidentally is the biggest thing, but also so I can just observe them because they are small for their ages, and despite the fact that they do eat and they do go to the bathroom, what seems, it seems as often as they should be going, they just haven't grown a whole lot since I've got them. They haven't lost weight really, but they haven't grown a whole lot. Each one's only grown a few grams since I got them, and like Tobean is this one up on the temperature gauge here, and he is more than a year old. And I got one over here, Pinwheel Shark, and he's also more than a year old now, and they both are in the 5 or 6 gram range. So I'm gonna give a tour of the cage. Come here. Okay, so they have these 3 plants that they have. They like sleeping in those, and they also like sleeping on their temperature gauge. They have these 2 sticks that I have in here, which are just propped up in the corners. The sticks are actually bird perches. I took the little plastic ends off them, and they actually, I think, make great gecko climbing sticks. They got a little lid down here that has water. Originally I was using a terracotta bowl, but the terracotta bowl didn't work that well because it actually got moldy very quickly, so I had to change it out a lot, and I'd wash it and it would still get moldy, so the plastic is a lot more mold resistant. Even changing frequently, the other one would still get moldy. I think the mold just absorbed into the terracotta because terracotta is porous, I understand. They have the little food plate down here. They got some cardboard tubes, which I change out when I clean their cage. And they do like the cardboard tubes. They do hide them sometime, and for the substrate, I have paper towels. Now, up until just a few days ago, I did actually have a heat pad on a thermostat. I had that, and I just had it set to 75 degrees or so because the temperature of the house is usually it's anywhere between probably 68 and 72, with the temperature actually being 70 to 71. So, but after doing some research on some gecko forms, I realized the fact that the temperature of the house is actually, even at room temperature, still a good temperature for them, and the house is going to be the same temperature the whole year round. It's heat and air conditioned and everything, so it's not going to be a problem as far as that, because I understand some people do have a problem with that if they don't run those things all year round, and the geckos can get too warm or too cold, so it will be fine with that. But I've decided to turn it off because I realized that the heat pads, from what I learned, are actually for giving belly heat to animals that are terrestrial and are not for the little tree climbing species like the crested geckos, because they're not really meant to heat up the air. Additionally, I didn't know where the temperature probe was. I always had the temperature probe in the cage because I was like, oh, it's supposed to measure the air temperature. And I still, on the thermostat, never turned it up above 75, 77 maybe, because I know if it, did jump up a few degrees, I wouldn't want to get above 82, which is what I understand about the hottest they should get. So I didn't put it above that, but I still never had the air temperatures I was hoping for until I learned that that's not what the heat pad does. And with this probe, it's supposed to go on the ground. Some people I know put it directly on top of the heat pad outside the tank, and some people tape it in the bottom down there. So right now this is in there, but they haven't been using that recently. So that is their current setup, and I know it doesn't have maybe as much cover as I would have liked to have, but if they're smaller cages, they'll have more cover, so they'll be happier from that. And also, some people say it's okay to keep them together, and I do think that in certain situations it could be. I definitely, I wouldn't recommend it for a beginner. I wouldn't totally discourage them. I just want them to know, if they were starting out with geckos, that they should be aware that they might have to separate them at any given point in time. But at this time, I feel it's better to separate them. And got a little pinwheel shark over here. I feel it's better to separate them. And I just feel like you can't tell as a human. They may not be showing signs that you perceive as being stressed, but that doesn't mean they're feeling stressed or not feeling stressed. So just for that also, in case their slow growing is due to that, then they won't be stressed out. And I have been giving them crickets. I get crickets twice a week, every 2 weeks, because I buy crickets, give them to one night, a few nights later, I give them the rest of the crickets that I got. So Tobean rather, which is over here, does not like crickets and doesn't seem to care about them. But the other two really like the crickets, and I do just the crickets when I do give it to them with a little bit of calcium and vitamin D, so balances out the cricket. But other than that, they do enjoy their fruit food, which is I believe it's the Zoomed, a watermelon flavored one. But they do enjoy that, and I do see that they've crawled through it or eaten some of it a lot of nights. And baby pineapple down here actually will eat it off my hand if I feel like he's not getting enough of it. So they seem to be doing good, but I think they'll be doing even better in their little tubs. So for their new cages, I have these 6-quart Sterilite containers. I got them at Walmart. They're only like 94 cents each, so I think they'll be good size. And I know that once they are more than 10 grams, they're supposed to move into the next size of container. I can't think right offhand what size that is, but bigger than this container. So what we did for ventilation, my dad and I drilled these holes in the lids that come with them, and I drilled these 2 holes over here so I can tie with a little piece of upholstery strong thread, tie their little temperature gauges and humidity gauges up here. But they have the holes for ventilation, and if needed, we could always drill some more, but I think this is probably sufficient because the containers are going to be opened once a day anyways to freshen up the air and give it ventilation as I feed them. So I got these containers. That's what they're going to live in. This is Tobean. Tobean currently weighs 6 grams, and he's going in this cage with his favorite temperature gauge because he likes sleeping on it. This is pinwheel shark. Currently weighs 4.6 grams. Come here. Come here. It'd be nice having them in their own little containers, because right now they're like a barrel full of creepy little monkeys. And then in this little container right now, because I just weighed him, got baby pineapple. Come here. Baby pineapple weighs 4.1 grams. And there you go.